Dr. Sumner, I was reading a study by MIT. So they did a study where they put students in groups. One group, and they were all working on the same assessment. So they gave them an assignment. One group was, they told them not to use any technology, just, no internet, nothing. The second group, they said you can use ChatGPT, AI. And then the third group, they said you can use like Google and search and stuff like that. And as you might expect, the group who was allowed to use ChatGPT and AI tools actually had the least critical thinking. And over time, they reported that these learners became very lazy and had the temptation to copy and paste.
Mm-hmm.
So how can we as educators be one step ahead of the game and maybe change our assessments to support students' learning?
Yeah, I think inevitably it reduces cognitive load, being able to use the features and functions of AIs, which comes with its strengths and challenges. I think important things to note for students and, having a diverse cohort of students is there are some advantages in that it can adapt to like individual learning styles, and for students that need help with focusing and planning and forward thinking with tasks, we call them like metacognitive skills. This is an area that's quite often within the world of educational psychology identified when assessing students is the areas of executive functioning, and that's thinking about attention, focus, planning, thinking about how we approach a task, and it's a common thing that students do struggle with. So AI certainly can help with that when it comes to giving students tools and strategies, but it's really important, I think, the implementation of it. And, Dr. Vic touched on great points around that. I think a lot of that is going to have to come into policy and the way it's implemented. And I think, as you said, it's been sort of slow to implement. Well, there's a reason behind that, because we have to assess and evaluate the risks in advance to know the direction we're moving in with it. And as with any tool, it's all about how it's used and knowing the limitations of it and setting clear criteria around that for students and young people so that they're aware of how they should be using it for producing pieces of work. There are ways that it can be used that really can help expand their learning and move forward thinking. But if it's a case of we're going to use it fully to generate something without any aspects of critical thinking, then you're going to see that there's a decline in problem-solving skills and independent thinking, which is something, invaluable to the learning experience. So really, I think a lot of that is a policy level around how it should be implemented and what the rules and regulations are for that. And, that goes back to the research as well.
Yeah. So do you recommend like modifying assessments from the traditional, write a 1,500 report on this to maybe something more like presentations or, debates or, something that can show that the student is actually learning in the class and putting that into practice?
Yeah. For me, as an educational psychologist, I absolutely promote different ways of capturing students' learning. And I think that's actually a central part of inclusion. Sometimes the system can feel rigid when it comes to specific learning approaches and needs that students have. Some students are much more comfortable with sharing their ideas in a group discussion. Some students find that absolutely terrifying, and would prefer to write. And I think that is about being responsive, but broadening the way that we capture our students' learning progress and how we assess that, I think would be a great advantage to many students, to increase their engagement of being able to demonstrate what they've learned.
Absolutely, because this technology, as we said, is not going anywhere, is it?
Yeah.
So we have to always be one step ahead.
Yeah, I saw a post on LinkedIn by a professor in France, and she clearly stated she's banning the use of AI in her class this semester. I think she was referring to the coming semester. And there was a backlash on LinkedIn. There were those who think it's the right way to go, and there were those who think, no, AI is here to stay, so just embrace it. My only concern is that AI has endless possibilities. It's not like calculator that has limited functionality. So if you expose students to AI use in your classroom, that's fine. How do you then control the use of AI in the provision of assessment or production of assessment? So that element, I won't say that I've seen evidence in my current students' use of AI in assessment. This is not the place to say that, but it is possible because professors are complaining about you give them a little chance of using it, then they go 100%, So there are instances where students who just, even for calculation purposes in economics or math, they will then just put the question in ChatGPT and it will produce the answer for them. All they have to do is to copy and paste. And I have to say, although we use plagiarism checking tools like Turnitin and SaferSign and the rest, they're not robust enough to catch everything. And sometimes they can even produce false positive results. So then the decision has to be the professor or the instructor determining whether this is AI generated or not. But then that also brings fairness issues, because if you have 150 students in your class, how are you going to physically ensure that the 150 students are doing the right thing? So it's a mess at the moment. I'm loving the AI. I use it myself. I think it's quite important for people in the corporate world. Within the classroom, particularly with assessment, I think institutions need to definitely find a policy where we need to be sure that yes, but no.
Yeah.
Absolutely.